Namaste and welcome back. In the last video before the monthly interview with Collina Shakti, we were talking about mirrors and how to create a good relationship with mirrors and how it is to dance without mirrors. So today I would love to go a little bit deeper into this topic. We're gonna read a passage from a book which is Acrobats of the Gods from Joan Dexter Blackmer. In this particular part of this book, I'm page 42 from the chapter Preparing the Body. The author is talking about the third eye of the dancer and says, from the start, the development of a third eye, objectivity, is central to the process. This gradually leads to a separation of the doer from the doing, the ego from the body. This is a very interesting idea of developing a third eye, which is actually what happens when we are on stage. When we are on stage, we are dancing on stage, but at the same time, we have this third eye which is watching ourselves from the audience. The author goes on talking about the first tool to develop this third eye, which is actually the teacher. But then it says that the second tool, which is essential to the development of objectivity, is the mirror. That ubiquitous reflecting presence in every dance studio. Like Narcissus gazing into the pool, a would-be dancer spends a great deal of time watching his or her reflection. Learning to use the mirror correctly, however, is a task in itself. For one can, again like Narcissus, become stuck to it and lose touch with the physical sensations within the body, with reality. In addition, especially at the start, the image one encounters in the mirror is usually so discouraging that the student is tempted to ignore the reflection of his or her imperfections and remain instead in a fantasy world of illusion. The ideal to which one aspires is far pleasanter than the hulking sight of the untrained, unsculpted body. And this is something which happens constantly. During my dance classes back in the studio, I was looking at my students and we were using the mirror, of course, as a tool. But I would see that they sometimes would prefer not to look at themselves, at their reflections, because then I asked them why, then they said to me, because I don't like how I look and I don't want to see my reflection, and they were discouraged from this way of seeing themselves. The author goes on and says, this is of course an encounter with the shadow. Learning to face it takes as much courage on the physical level as it does on the psychological level. And when one faces it, one learns a lesson in objectivity. So, especially in the beginning, this is a hard but necessary moment of our training as dancers, to face our own structure, our own base, our own, I would say, raw matter that we can forge every day, every week, every month, every year with our practice. And as the author goes on and says, occasionally there is that wonderful moment when one checks in the mirror and sees with some astonishment a creature who actually looks like a dancer. The mirror is an invaluable tool for seeing both one's imperfections and one's progress. That image in the mirror is the dancer. Now that I can see what she looks like, I can help her to improve. She and I are sisters, perhaps, but no longer identical. There are dangers, however. I have seen a neurotic dancer experience herself entirely in the mirror image, losing all sense of herself as the object outside the looking glass. Projecting herself completely into the mirror, she ceased to exist without it. This is a split rather than a differentiation, akin to an out-of-body experience. It is depersonalization. To counteract the inadequacies and very real dangers of such a one-sided extroverted orientation, it is extremely important to develop inner sensations. An inner sense of touch, sources of information about what is really happening as one dances. So the trick here can be to be stuck into this new idea, this new image of the dancer, which arises from the practice, from the hours spent in the studio in front of the mirror. So to overcome this, the very important step now is to focus on the inner feelings of the body. And the other continues and says, I thought in one dance studio where we were fortunate enough to have curtains, which could be drawn across the wall of mirrors at the front of the studio. When one works without the mirror, and sometimes I would have my students work with their eyes closed to further intensify the experience, one becomes aware of the most important sixth sense, proprioceptivity, the kinesthetic sense within the body. Located in the muscles, joints and tendons, the kinesthetic sense tells the ego from within what is happening, the shape of a movement, whether a foot is correctly pointed, a kneecap held taut, the spine stretched, the head balanced properly, the shoulders easy. The correct use of the mirror involves a shifting of the focus from outer perception to inner, a constant back and forth between sensing what a movement feels like from within and seeing what it looks like from outside. Gradually, one develops an ability to be in two places at once, on the stage, performing, and in the audience, watching. I hope you found this lecture together inspiring for your practice. If you like this video, please subscribe and take a look at my Patreon if you'd like to support my work. Thank you to all my patrons and thank you for watching. Mwah. Namaste.